Welcome to Paradigms at paradigms.life, the radio show and podcast that brings you inspiring people with visions of a viable future for life on Earth that includes humans. Hi, I'm Baruch, host of Paradigms. I'm glad to spend this time with you. I'm bringing you a wonderful guest, a singer and songwriter. He's been doing this for a long time, and his journey is a bit comical at the outset. I think you'll get a kick out of his story. But his music is really wonderful, heartfelt, very relatable. We had a great conversation. So let's meet him now on this episode of Paradigms. Matthew Alexander, welcome to Paradigms.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
I just listened to your new record, Midnight Dream Station. Really interesting, wonderful music. You have a very unique kind of I don't know, this may sound weird. It sort of felt like Tom Waits meets Jimmy Durante meets, I don't know who. You have a really interesting thing going on.
I love it. Thank you. That's what I want.
I think what comes across mostly is it feels very personal.
Yes.
The way you provide yourself to us.
Well, thank you. It's I'm a fan of autobiographical songs, which these are. You know, during the pandemic, you couldn't really play a lot with other musicians. So I said, look, I'll just play along with myself. And I got out my old Triton music station and came up with all these parts to personalize it, I guess, but also to enrich it.
In a way, I have to say it was unexpectedly personal to me. I was like, Oh, wow, okay.
No, that's interesting.
I'd love to know a little bit your story. Where do you come from? How did your life go? How did you end up doing this?
Well, it's a great question. One of the questions that a psychiatrist asked a new client is, what is your first memory? And my first memory, it's unbelievable to me, it's Bach's C Major Prelude. When I hear that song, that tune, I go back to probably when I was 6 months old in a baby carriage next to my father's Steinway piano. And my father was a composer of classical music who did modern music, but he had been a concert pianist, and his favorite composer was Chopin. So I grew up listening to the most magnificent melodies on the piano. And the other early influence, this was all in New York City, was my mother, who was a poet, who wrote 4 books of poetry, who would endlessly try to find the right word. So wanting to please them both, I became a songwriter.
It's wonderful. I'm just imagining the effect all that music had on your baby brain.
Yes. And I always had a good ear. And so one of the stories is when I was about 4, I was playing the piano and I was playing what my brother was playing, but the music was upside down. So I was playing it by ear. My father always felt like I had the most talent. He had 4 sons and wanted me to follow in his footsteps. But I didn't like the concept of classical music because I didn't like things that were written for you. When I was exposed to the guitar, I said to my mother, I want to play the guitar. And my dad was teaching me on the piano. She said, well, you'll have to ask your father. So I asked my father, and he was a bit of a remote figure. And his response was, absolutely not. It's a piano or nothing. The guitar is an inferior instrument. He was a purist. He wanted me to be a concert pianist. And my mother was so sweet. She said, don't worry about it. We'll get you a guitar. And the next weekend, she bought me my first guitar. But I still love the piano, but my main instrument is the guitar.
Did your dad ever come around?
He did.
Good. When did you start writing your own songs, and how did that go? And then performing them?
I started with instrumentals and playing the guitar. And I was a finger picker. I started with a guy named Artie Trow and learned how to finger pick. And I love to finger pick. And I was up at a summer camp. I was about 14. And this professional songwriter, Lou Stallman, And Lou wrote some of the great songs of Perry Como, Here's a Wheel and It Goes Round and Round. He co-wrote It's Gonna Take a Miracle. And he would come up there every summer for a week and put on a show with the teenagers. And he heard about this kid who was a good finger picker. So I auditioned for him. And it was like the heavens opened. And he said, when you come back to the city, why don't you come down to our publishing house? And they were grooming future pop stars. So Robert John was one of the people in their stable, Sad Eyes. I got inspired to start writing songs with lyrics. And they published my first 12 songs. My father had assigned the agreements. And that was it. I mean, that was so inspiring. When we went into the recording studio back then, it was like a church. It was, oh my God, they're recording me. And so that continued. I went to college up in Cambridge, and I started headlining at a place called the Nameless Coffee House in Harvard Square. Placed third in a folk competition in front of about 2,000 people. And I was hooked, so I almost dropped out of Harvard to pursue my career as a songwriter and a singer, because I figured if I graduated from Harvard, I would lose all credibility. Kind of distorted thinking.
Yeah.
Luckily, my father talked me out of it.
I was imagining that was who.
Yeah. He talked me out of it. And I said, okay, I'll finish Harvard if you let me do what I want to do. So I spent the next 7 years pursuing music.
I'm talking with Matthew Alexander about his new album, Midnight Dream Station. Let's hear a couple of tracks now, starting out with the first song on the album, A Feeling in My Bones. Matthew Alexander from Midnight Dream Station. This is Paradigms at paradigms.life.
I always fought with demons, never touched the sky above. I never knew the power of my own love. 'Cause when your dreams have been stolen and the thieves have all made bail, oh, you're bound to be drifting like a ship without a sail. Oh, I woke up this morning with a feeling in my bones, and it made me feel well, and it made me feel kind, and the sun, it was shining in through the blinds. A feeling in my bones, a feeling in my bones. I'll be traveling to the places from where I came. Oh, I'm hoping against hope it won't be the same. 'Cause when I woke up this morning, the light was streaming clear. Lord, it won't be easy leaving your love here. 'Cause I woke up this morning with a feeling in my bones, and it made me feel well, and it made me feel kind, and the sun, it was shining in through the blinds. A feeling in my bones, a feeling in my bones. Never thought it could happen. Thought I'd always feel small when I go wave in the ocean. You're breaking down the walls. I woke up this morning with a feeling in my bones, and it made me feel well, I could feel sad about my girl. You know, the one that got away. I could be marching in the streets. I could be tearing walls down. But guys like me are too discreet to show their faces uptown. Sticking my head under the sand, binging on Netflix when I can. Baby Siri can understand this apolitical man. I really don't give a damn about the brotherhood of man. Gave up that ghost a long time ago. When I left Ohio, sticking my head under the sand, bitching on Netflix when I can. Baby Siri can understand this apolitical man. On Netflix when I can, sticking my head under the sand. Baby Siri can understand. I'm an apolitical man. I hope to live another day in whatever left of the USA. Broken promise makes you fall and question the meaning of it all. Sticking my head under the sand, binging on Netflix when I can. Maybe Siri can understand. Binging on Netflix when I can, sticking my head under the sand. Maybe Siri can understand. I'm an apolitical man. Apolitical man. I really don't give a damn. The brotherhood of men. I'm an apolitical man. Oh, apolitical man.
We just heard two songs from Matthew Alexander's new record, Midnight Dream Station. We started out with A Feeling in My Bones, and then we heard An Apolitical Man. Now we're going to get back to my conversation with Matthew Alexander and talk some more about the music and this record. Just an aside, you mentioned Gonna Take a Miracle, and you sing Spanish Harlem.
Yes.
And those are both such amazing classic Motown songs, but both performed by one of my favorite artists ever, Laura Nyro. And I wondered if you're a Laura Nyro fan.
Huge Laura Nyro fan. Must have worn out Eli and the 13th Confession, The Perfume. Unbelievable talent. That's really cool. You don't meet a lot of people these days who mention her.
No, well, it's just the 55th anniversary of that record, Eli and the 13th Confession.
I didn't know that.
When I heard you doing Spanish Harlem, I thought,
yeah,
wow, that's wonderful. Well, as far as I'm concerned, anyone who's inspired by Laura Nyro has a really beautiful heart. She's so incredible. So that's very cool to encounter.
That is cool. The first two records, Wedding Bell Blues, is just such a great song. Emily, such an incredible song on the second album. So incredibly produced.
Everything she did was amazing. I mean, really, there's nothing she did that isn't just amazing. And the later records, I mean, Nested is just gorgeous. It's so beautiful. And but Eli and the 13th Confession stands as one of the great albums of all time in my book.
I would have to agree with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So who else are your inspirations?
Well, when I was growing up, Everly Brothers, huge, huge inspiration. Ian and Sylvia, I would get tickets. I'd be the first person to get tickets for the Ian and Sylvia shows. And I'd sit in the front row and sing along with it. And then back then, you could go backstage. I went backstage and I met them. Wonderful people. Ian Tyson recently passed away, which really, really made me very sad. They turned me on to Gordon Lightfoot, who I just love. Gordon Lightfoot. His first record is one of my all-time favorite records, and I got to meet him as well. And then, of course, Tim Buckley and all the usual suspects of Cat Stevens, the Beatles, James Taylor, Van Morrison, people like that. I think Moondance is one of the great albums of all time. Yeah, so all these classic singer-songwriters. The Beatles were singer-songwriters. They just happened to be incredibly gifted musicians and bandmates. I also like what songs that may be considered corny. So Gilbert or O'Sullivan, Alone Again Naturally, I think is just a brilliant song. Janis Ian at 17. These are more, as we started out talking, these are confessional songs, and they go deep. They're very personal, and I'm really drawn to songs like that.
It's interesting, the phenomenon of the singer-songwriter, which really seems like it's a 20th century phenomenon. Before that, music had been, jazz and blues was personal, but it was more telling big stories, and people's personal stories. So maybe that's really where the confessional stuff and that personal came along. But then you get into the singer-songwriters, the people you mentioned, Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, Joan Baez, even, who didn't write a lot of songs, but wrote some very personal ones. Seems like it was part of the evolution of culture, too, is that we're at a point where suddenly people needed to express more personally as part of responding to what wasn't working around them.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's a curious question about what made the transition, because Lou Stallman is a great example. Lou would write for other people. Burt Bacharach, all these great songwriters, they believed we're songwriters, we're not singers. And then, of course, Bob Dylan threw the whole thing upside down. You could be a singer, too. You didn't have to sing that well, as long as you sold it. It was a real transition, and all of a sudden, the Moon June spoon was out the door.
Yeah.
And people like Lou Stallman really struggled because they were no longer in vogue.
What's happened since is like that all continues to exist, but all these other branches to the musical tree have come about. Pop music has gone in so many directions, and and even the most commercial produced, least personal stuff on some level is still coming out of someone's need to express something.
Yeah, if it's too polished, there's there's great songwriting in country music, but it's a little too polished. I've got a 90-10 rule, which is that in all genres of music, 90% of it is really formulaic and 10% is brilliant. So I think 10% of country is brilliant, 10% of rap is brilliant, maybe not opera. And finding the rare album that's really authentic.
We'll be back with more of my conversation with Matthew Alexander after we hear a few songs from his new record, Midnight Dream Station. We were talking about Laura Nyro and Matthew's cover of Spanish Harlem, so here it is.
Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. There is a rose in Spanish Harlem, a red rose up in Spanish Harlem. special one. It's never seen the sun. It only comes out when the moon is on the run and all the stars are gleaming. It's growing in the street, right up through the concrete, soft and sweet and dreamy. Oh, there is a rose in Spanish Harlem, a red rose up in Spanish Harlem. Oh, with eyes as black as coal that reach down in my soul and start a fire there, and then I lose control. I have to beg your pardon. I'm going to pick that rose and watch her as she grows. Oh, in my garden. Oh, la 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 la. La 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 la. I'm going to pick that rose and watch her as she grows. Oh, in my garden. La 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 la. La 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 la. There is a rose in Spanish Harlem. I woke up this morning, heard the birds sing in the trees. But what could they give me? Oh, could they show me a melody, a sweet melody? Oh, but it won't set me free. A morning song, morning for friends who have passed along. And later that morning, I threw the sleep down from my eyes. I took up what was mine, stood in the sunshine by and by. Oh, by and by, everyone dies. A morning song, morning for friends who passed along. Hold on to your soul while the restless thunder rolls. So if you've been listening to the singing of a song, why then you should know, my friend, it's only love that lives on. Oh, love lives on after the song. A morning song, morning for friends who passed with it all. 'Cause I remember those days so well, days that felt like hell. Moonshine, it's been a long time. Hey, moonshine, feels like a long time. Oh, yes it does. And when I needed you, my Lord, you offered me reward and promises of everlasting grace. If I would have a change of face, well, thank you, Lord, but I'm doing fine. I'm drinking up that moonshine. Hey, moonshine, feels like a long time. Yeah, moonshine, it's been a long time. Oh, yes it has. I'm standing up by my front porch. I'm drinking up my day's thoughts. Breeze is blowing through the cedar pine. I'm drinking up that moonshine. Hey, the moonshine. What a moon, what a moon, what a moon, what a moon. Feels like a long time. What a moon, what a moon. Yeah, moonshine. We'll have a fine time. What a moon, what a moon, what a moon. Yeah, moonshine. Feels like a long time. What a moon, what a moon, what a moon. Yeah, moonshine. We'll have a fine time. Yes, we will. I remember when I was small, but I won't talk about it at all.
Moonshine from Matthew Alexander's new record, Midnight Dream Station. We heard A Morning Song before that, and Spanish Harlem started out that set of music. And now we're going to return to my conversation with Matthew Alexander. You're listening to Paradigms at paradigms.life. I'm lucky because I seem to manage to meet the most amazing artists in all these different genres doing amazing, I keep using that word, but just beautiful, beautiful art. I mean, it's really bringing to us space for us to have an experience. And I think people are more and more realizing that's where the value is in life. It's what are we experiencing, and that music and art add to it.
That's a great point.
This record, tell me about the music you made here, the songs. I mean, some of them you wrote. There's at least one that you didn't write. And a bunch of these were written during pandemic.
Right. Yeah. You know, I tend to want to do a record every 3 or 4 years, and I had planned to do a record with a guy I've worked with before, pianist and jazz composer named Fred Story. And Fred was really busy, and so I decided to call up GAT3 that I had recorded at before. I had this whole batch of songs. So during the lockdown, all of a sudden, I had all this time on my hands. And it was such a gift because I got to look at some songs I'd written literally 50 years before. And I saw it with new eyes and I saw, this is a good song, but I need to change a couple of words. So all of a sudden it became like my mother. I've got to have the right words. And so I would really work on these songs. And some of them, as I said, were older songs that I rewrote. And then some were new songs that were coming out of this whole experience. I got to really work on them and perfect them. And so when I went into this new studio, I was paired with an engineer named Chris Green. And Chris is 29 years old, but he had studied for 3 years in Ireland in Van Morrison's studio. So he's a very hip guy. And one of the things that he did with these songs that I really liked is I would sing it. He'd say, do me a favor, can you just sing it again? Mr. Alexander, one more time, please. He was trying to get the right feel. And I really appreciated that because with recording, it's all about feel. And so once we got the right feel, then I was able to bring my Korg music station, which I had never, ever used, and start experimenting with all these other sounds. And he just was so good at his engineering and mixing. And the record really grew. And the thing I didn't mention yet is in the center of this incredible studio is this Yamaha piano. And it was the most beautiful sounding piano. So all of a sudden, the record shifted back to my father from a guitar oriented record to a piano oriented record. And I was having so much fun that, I think it shows on the record. I was just having fun playing the piano and hearing how alive it was. And the owner of the studio, every time I ran into him, he said, well, you're having fun. I said, yeah, I'm really having fun. So the piano, I think, is a big piece of this record.
Both your parents.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so the song Happy, did you compose and write that in the studio while you were having a great time?
No. That is that's a song I wrote for my wife. Interestingly enough, I was in this, this mindset. So I used to write 1 or 2 songs a year, and the floodgates opened, and I wrote 30 songs within the space of about 8 months. One song I wrote was based on a billboard called Castaway Cottage. I said, well, let's see if I can write a song about Castaway Cottage, which wasn't on this record, but it turned into a song about infidelity. And then one day I was sitting around and I thought, well, why don't I see if I can write a song called Happy? And so each of the letters spelled out a certain concept about being happy. It's interesting because I mentioned luck in the lyric, but I didn't know this. The root of the word happy is hap, which means luck. And so much of happiness and mating is really based on luck. So I had a lot of fun. It was a little tough to come up with why. H is for heaven when we're all alone. A, I'm in awe of the kindness you've shown. P is for pleasure, pleasure times 2. But what is why? Oh, you're the yin to my yang, and I love you.
Then you have a very somber song, a morning song.
Yes, yeah. A morning song is possibly my favorite song on the record. That's one that was written when I was 17, after my grandmother died. And my grandmother would spend summers with us, and she would pay attention to us. She would play cards with us. She would listen to us practice our scales on the piano. She would make potato latkes when my mother would let her in the kitchen. When she passed away, I couldn't really make sense of it. So, I walked out of our house and started writing this song about mourning. It's a mourning song, but it's about mourning. And then it just sat in a book for 50 years. And then during the pandemic, I said, hey, this is a good song, but I had to change one word, which made all the difference. And then I added a refrain about hanging in there, the thunder, the rolling thunder. And that was based on all the people that we lost during the pandemic. And a good friend of mine whose son had committed suicide. And I wanted to tailor the song to really anybody who's grieving.
And that's wonderful. It's my favorite song on the album, too.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful song, but also because it gives people permission. And grieving is something that people struggle with.
Yeah.
Often.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. They'll push it down. They'll avoid it.
Yeah. And that isn't healthy.
No.
We have to let it flow, even though it hurts.
Right. Right. That allows us to get to the other side.
We'll be back with the final part of my conversation with Matthew Alexander after we hear 3 more songs from his new album, Midnight Dream Station. The first one is Happy. Here we go.
People say they're happy, they won't bother to tell you why. I thought I'd spell it out so I don't have to shout. I'm one heck of a lucky guy. H is for heaven when we're all alone. Hey, I'm in awe at the kindness you show. Double P is the pride and the power of 2. Why, you're the yin to my yang, and I love you. Happy. Happy. And even when we argue, I wouldn't call it a fight. We know how to heal, cause we say what we feel, till everything is alright. H is for a hope that I hope never dies. Hey, I adore you even when you cry. Double P is for pleasure, pleasure times 2. Why, you're the yin to my yang, and I love you. Happy. Happy. Like a summer wind from the sea, you're lifting up me. And when we grow older and your golden hair turns to gray, from what I can see, I'm bound to be just as happy as I am today. H is for heroes and honeysuckle days. A is for all of the ways you amaze. Double B is perfection and playfulness too. Why, you're the yin to my yang, and I love you. You're the yin to my yang, and I love you. You're the yin to my yang, and I love you. Happy. Happy. Oh, I'm a lucky guy. Love was a long time ago, south of San Diego. Asked her why, she said just because. And in the end, love was a feverish dream. Ivory skin, all a gleam, a slip of the tongue, a faux pas. And in the end, love was never to be. Love was out of reach. Died a lonely death on a lonely beach. Turned her back, walked away. nothing more to say. Drove off in a rental car, and in the end, love was. Oh, love was never to be. Love was out of reach. Died a lonely death on a lonely beach. He still replays that time like a jukebox in his mind. He has never been the same. It's a loser's game. 'Cause love was never to be. Oh, love was out of reach. Died a lonely death on a lonely beach. Love was a long time ago, south of San Diego. Feelings can whirl like a hurricane, but after the wind, oh, and after the rain, the clouds will clear and the sun will crown. There's a downside of up and an upside of down. The downside of up is you want it to last. Whatever you build can fall down fast. You better take care, oh, and you better be tough. Buyer beware, the downside of up, the wisdom you share, and the wounds you reveal, the anger you show, and the joy that you feel. Oh, the king and the queen, the fool and the clown. There's a downside of up and an upside of down. The upside down is a grit that you get sailing through a sea of regret. You learn how to swim, oh, you learn not to drown. Learn to sail with the tides, the upside down. The downside of up and the upside down. A Ferris wheel spinning around. Grow your dreams, root them in the ground. There's a downside of up and an upside of down, and upside of down, and upside of down, oh, and upside of down.
That's The Upside of Down, Matthew Alexander, from his new record Midnight Dream Station. Before that, Love Was. And we started out with Happy. Aren't these songs just very easy to relate to? Here's the final part of my conversation with Matthew Alexander. Wow. And then you have The Upside of Down.
Yeah, The Upside of Down was the last song on there. It's the most recent one. That was out of a request from a nephew to write him a wedding song. And his name is Ben. And when Ben was a teenager, he was one of the top-ranked tennis players in the country. And he was on a path to greatness. He got into Tufts. And then, sadly, his mother died from cancer. And this, because he was only 15 or 16 at this time, it started a downward trajectory of drug use and unemployment and smashing 3 cars, more drug use, rehab, and some bad relationships. And this last stint in rehab, he met this wonderful woman named Keller. They broke the 13th step, which is you're not supposed to get involved with someone else in recovery. And they make a great couple. And they just so happen to really like my music. So they said, would you please write us a song? And so this song came out, interestingly enough, it's on the piano, and the melody is similar to Bach's C major prelude. It seemed to me that, there's a downside of up, which is when you're really feeling good, you want it to last, you want to hold on, and it often can fall apart before you know it. But the upside of down is you get stronger and you learn how to survive and kind of swim with the tides. So I'm glad you liked that song.
That's wonderful. And hearing the story of it makes it even more meaningful. You bring such a warmth to your music, and
Thank you.
The music is deceptively simple.
Yeah.
In a way,
yeah.
But it's not simple, and the messages are complex. And with what you bring to it as of yourself, I think people can listen to this, and by now in the interview they've already heard these songs because we're listening to music throughout. You ever eat something that feels like you start absorbing it right in your mouth? It's so nourishing and good.
Yeah.
You just feel like your body. That's how this music is like. It just sort of sinks in.
That's great. Yeah, I really like that. I was listening to it over the weekend, and, I certainly hope it has commercial success, but it's not meant to be commercial. It's really from my heart and soul, to replenish people, because it's also an optimistic vibe to it.
Yes, very. We can use that right about now.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, there's one song I can't remember where you're alluding to the election coming up, and it's like, oi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you take this music out? Do you perform out?
Yeah, I've got a show coming up in Asheville. I'll be headlining at the Dana Worthen Theater. I've been writing some music for a potential TV show. So they're going to have the first episode broadcast in this old theater, and I'll be opening up the show. And I'm starting to do some house concerts, and then there's a formal CD release party in Charlotte on May 24th.
All right.
Yeah, I like performing a lot, and I like telling these stories, because for new songs you need to frame it in a story.
Well, those will be fun shows then, because I know that you'll tell the stories of the songs.
Yeah,
that'll be great for folks. That's awesome. Matthew, really nice to meet you. Really nice to talk with you about what you're doing and what you've done, and it's a pleasure.
The pleasure is mine. I really appreciate your choosing me to highlight the songs on this record. I hope people can hear this.
It'll be great.
Yeah.
Take care, be well, and stay in touch with future projects.
Okay, I sure will. Thanks so much for everything.
Matthew Alexander, thanks for talking with me and being on Paradigms. It was really great to meet you. Fun conversation. Really enjoying the music, the humanity of it, your humanity, our humanity shining through. Midnight Dream Station. Folks, if you'd like to know more about Matthew Alexander, his website is alexandertunes.com, and his performance schedule is there, photographs, all the usual good stuff, and of course, music. And if you enjoyed this episode of Paradigms, there are many others at the Paradigms website, paradigms.life. In a couple of weeks, we'll be closing out our 14th year and starting our 15th year. So check out our back catalog of really just amazing guests, wonderful guests that offer us so much. So we're going to wrap up this episode, and I'm going to leave you with one more song from Midnight Dream Station. It's called My Children's Children by Matthew Alexander. And let's let the word for the week be offering. What do we offer? What do we have to offer? What is offered to us? All right. Baruch signing off for this episode of Paradigms. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back next time with more inspired, inspiring people. Until then, let's just notice what is offered in this world and be well.
My children's children will inherit the sea. My children's children will be part of me. Let the sweet winds blow, let the oceans flow, let the wild geese fly in the southern sky. My children's children, what will they see? What will they know of a history? If I could hold them in my arms, I'd surely shield them from all harm. My children's children, I don't know who they will be. I don't know if they'll remember me. May their parents treat them well, tell them stories, weave them a spell. My children's children, may they stay strong, steer the planet, know right from wrong, walk the forests, dark and tall, breathe the air given to us all. My children's children, but there are forces at play that will make or break the day. The balance is in our hands, all the future at our command. My children's children, I hope they find there's nothing better than being kind to each living thing with the love they'll bring. May their hearts dance, may their souls sing. My children's children.
You've been listening to Paradigms at paradigms.life.